If there's one thing that every, and I mean every One Piece fan agrees on, then it's Oda and his obsession with numbers. He loves playing around with chapter numbers. The more you look into it, the crazier it gets. Now, we're definitely not going to do a comprehensive recap of every time Oda did his thing. Just search it up and you'll see enough results, but we can still do a quick recap of how Oda does every 100th chapter. Seriously, all such chapters have been extraordinary in one way or another. Want me to quickly remind you of what has happened in every 100th One Piece chapter so far? Well, chapter 100 featured the Straw Hats declaring their dreams and entering the Grand Line. Chapter 200 was the birth of Water Luffy. Chapter 300 had that party between Shandians and Skypians symbolizing the end of a 400 years old conflict. Chapter 400 showed us the Straw Hats crashing into the main building of Enies lobby. Chapter 500 ended with the reveal of the Pirate King's right-hand man. Chapter 600 is of course about the Straw Hats sailing again after 2 years. Chapter 700 is where the news about Luffy's alliance with the law spread throughout the world and Doflamingo allegedly resigned from the 7 warlords. Chapter 800 is where the Straw Hat Grand Fleet celebrates their beginnings, and we're told that they are going to cause a great incident in the future. Chapter 900 was quite sinister because as Big Mom finally munched on her cake, the Straw Hats were in a burning sea, desperately trying to get away from the Big Mom pirates. After Chapter 900, we have an absolutely astounding sequence of chapters, but what about Chapter 1000? From teasing about Luffy's true dream once again, to Luffy and the Supernova gang confronting the 2 emperors on the rooftop, it was a juicy, spicy, and pretty well-cooked chapter. Especially that line where Luffy declares in front of Kaido and Big Mom that he is Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will surpass them and become the king of pirates. And now we're a handful of weeks away from the release of the next 100th chapter. Considering how hardcore the past dozen or so chapters have been, I'd say we're in for something truly phenomenal. The most recent chapter at the time of the making of this video was chapter 1098, and I'd be the first to admit that it is up there with the most tragic chapters the story has ever known. Just when you think it can't get any more tragic for our boy Kuma, the story slaps you in the face with something even worse. But guess what? The flashback did not end with chapter 1098, which leaves us with 2 major possibilities for chapter 1100. Either the flashback ends with the next chapter, and chapter 1100 is about Kuma showing up at Egghead and finally seeing Nika in action, or the flashback continues even after chapter 1099 and we see something about the One Piece lore that is still yet to be told. These are the 2 major possibilities, but of course, if you can get into the nuances, then the context under which these 2 possibilities can happen could still catch us off guard. Like if the flashback ends the next chapter, how would the Egghead arc story resume? What will Kuma see when he arrives there? Will he die after seeing Luffy in action? If he does die, would he die with a smile on his face like Roger and Odin? And if the flashback continues, what direction can it take? We can more or less guess that Kuma probably made a deal with the devil in order to cure Bonnie's disease. The devil in this case is the Celestial Dragons, and the deal is about him becoming their lapdog. Keep in mind that Bonnie is 12 years old right now, which means she was 10 years old before the time skip. Coincidentally, 10 years is the age at which she was going to die because of the illness, so that is about the time when Kuma must have made the deal, which led him to losing his consciousness and everything. Oda is going to show us why Kuma ended the way he did, and how he cured Bonnie in the next chapter, and to be honest, I don't think chapter 1100 will also be about the flashback. We have to consider the way Oda paces his chapters these days. I'd reckon the first half of chapter 1100 will have Kuma's flashback ending on a very tragic note, but the second half opens up with him finally arriving at Egghead and seeing Nika fight against Saturn. It would be a beautiful, almost poetic end, but then again, let's just let Oda cook. What do you guys think though? What are your expectations for chapter 1100? Come on, let it out in the comments section. As for when it is going to come out, we don't know. Chapter 1099 will be out in the last week of November, and then chapter 1100 should come out in the first or second week of December, but chapter 1101 will probably not be out until next year. Though, if we have received any updates on the chapter release schedule by the time you get to watch this video, mention it in the comment section down below.